What's going on, guys? This is Martyrs Brigade 99 coming to you once again with another session of Dark Souls PvP. Alright guys, this is part 2 of my starting from scratch series, and in the event that you guys kind of did not watch part 1, this is basically a 2-part series wherein I talk about my experimentation with trying something new. Alright, so in other words, I'm going to be trying to playstyle wherein I am not using a shield. Alright, so this is going to be my stab at dual wielding practice. And like I said before, a lot of this came from after watching the 12-minute Dark Souls 2 demonstration and seeing the little showcase potential for dual wielding. The way I see it, I'm kind of comfortable with some of the basic techniques of Dark Souls, but seeing that they're going to invest a little more time and effort into the dual wielding aspect of the game, I think I should go ahead and get a little practice in this so that when Dark Souls 2 is released, that will make dual wielding all the more easier because I familiarize myself with it. So that's basically why I'm calling this starting from scratch. Now if you guys notice that once again, he didn't receive that damage from the R2 until I'll say probably 1 or 2 seconds later. So, and the reason why I say this again is because I kind of brought that out in part 1 of the video. Good old Sage of Tolls, he has a cool build, but there's a little lag in there. But I don't want that to discourage us from having a series. I think that guy has a really cool build. He's got like Pyro, Wrath of the Gods. He's using a dagger, Claymore. He's pulling out all the stops. Alright, so once again, if he's out there and he's checking the video out, you get some time, maybe we can kind of coordinate and put together a Battle of the Build series. Now, here is one of my weaknesses. Alright, one of my major weaknesses. Darkwood grain rings. I cannot beat these guys for anything because they can just skip out of everything. Now, this is not to say that they're invincible, but they're very hard to hit. Right? And they know it. So, the funny thing about it is I used to talk about Darkwood grain ring users all the time, but I kind of don't do it anymore because at least it's a little more realistic. You don't have guys with their full giants and full black iron ninja flipping with the invincibility frame. So I don't really talk about it as much. But, in some of the cases where I'm noticing that these guys are just skipping out on attacks, I just can't stop myself from talking about it. So, I wonder if they're going to go ahead and return with the Darkwood grain ring in Dark Souls 2. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of the Darkwood grain ring fans would be happy if they did. Or at least something similar. Alright. So, what do we have here? Alright, so I was lucky to hit him with that offhand Falcon. Those last 2 shots actually is what killed it. Alright, so here's Bubba 777. Shout out to him. That guy probably parried me like 5 times. I think I fought him like 3 or 4 times, something like that. And he was pretty good with the parries. And the good thing about it is, it didn't seem as if he was fishing for him. And the times that he parried me, they were good parries. Right? Looks like, just like right there, that was a good parry attempt even though he missed. Because there's a lot of guys that I play against. Speak of the devil, there's a good parry. There's a lot of guys that I parry against. Basically all they do. Alright, so that's a nice spam right there, but it's all good. One thing that a lot of guys do, and I don't know if it's a pattern that they see that I'm not aware of, or if they're actually just, always trying to keep up with that one-hit parry technique. But there's a lot of guys that I see that it seems like after every little thing they're hitting the parry button, which is all good. Like I said before, I don't talk against attack styles or strategies. What I do is bring people's attention to things, because there's a lot of things that you as a player may do that you may not really realize you're doing until someone brings it to your attention. Case in point, shout out to Foxio Games. I think he had a series. I can't remember if it was a series between he and Sunlight Blade or he and Mr. I Won't Forget. I can't remember who the series was against, but he was saying that, you know, in his own commentary, he was saying, well, I mean, it was brought to my attention that I play like super defensively, right? And, you know, that just goes to show that, you know, before the time that it was brought to his attention, he didn't realize that he was coming across as being extremely offensive. But once it was brought to his attention, then he's, you know, began to become a little more conscious of perhaps what he was doing. Now, this is not to say that he necessarily changed his playstyle, but it does speak to sometimes you don't really realize what you're doing until someone exposes it. Right, so that's what a lot of times what I do. I know a lot of people hate to hear me talk about people's play styles, but I don't really care. I'm a commentator, right? That's the type of things that I'm supposed to talk about: tactics, strategies, and anything else involving Dark Souls PvP. All right, so we have a Dragon Slayer Spear, so it looks like I'm going to be in trouble, especially seeing that I don't have a buckler. Because like I said before, I'm getting out of my comfort zone. So, you know, in a lot of cases, when you're trying something new and you're starting to have a hard time, it is so easy, in some cases, for people to revert back to what's easy for them. Right? But sometimes, especially in this game, you're just going to have to take the losses. I mean, just like right now. I could have just easily pull out my buckler and say, you know what, this guy's got a spear. I need to go ahead and tighten him up. But would I really be sharpening my my so-called skills in dual wielding? No. So you're just going to have to take it or leave it, right? If I win, I win. If I lose, or I lose. And this is what I was saying about people who really want to improve. You really need to let go of the idea of winning. You need to just go ahead and let that go, because you're not going to win all the time. Definitely need to let that go. Alright, so he was kind of slow on the parry, and I'm glad he missed it. Alright, so I'm going to take a BS right there. And shout out to Carnay. Now, if a lot of you guys are not familiar with it, and actually, I'll go ahead and put a link to his stream in the description box. He does a lot of streams. Now, I don't know how often he does them. But I know there's a lot of times where he's on the twitch.tv and he's doing either an Xbox or a PlayStation stream. That's one good thing about Carnay. He actually has both consoles. So, you know, if you guys ever want to participate in a fight club, you know, and you want to meet up with some of the guys like Hell Serving, Carnay, and some of these others, usually they're all streaming together. Right, and if they're not streaming together, they at least are in the same fight club and participating in it. So, GG to Carnay. Actually, that wasn't Carnay right there, but, you know, the fight before that. Alright, so here comes good old David American. And this guy is always invading the Moonlight Butterfly Forest. And actually, he's going to beat me up pretty bad with this battle axe. So it looks like he's been getting some good practice. Alright. And you know what? This is really one thing that I like to see. People who are not afraid to experiment with some of the, I would say, weapons that are usually ignored. Which this is one. I mean, think about it. How many people do you really see rocking a battle axe? I don't really see that. And the thing is, in my personal opinion, this is how you start to become a well-rounded player. Because, you know, you have a lot of people who they kind of stick in their comfort zone. Right? Case in point, let's say you have a guy that loves Darkwood Grain Ring. They'll never experiment with medium roll or fast roll because Darkwood Grain Ring just gives them comfort. Or another type of guy who, let's just say, they're all into katanas. Well, because they're so successful with katanas, they'll never experiment with anything else. Now, am I saying there's anything wrong with that? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But what I'm saying is, in my personal opinion, the well-rounded player is the type of person that can adapt in pretty much any situation, right? May it be strength weapons, may it be dexterity weapons, may it be ninja flip, fast roll, or medium roll. The most well-rounded player, and well-rounded does not necessarily mean that you're going to win all the time, so that's not what I'm talking about, because I know a lot of people can only see things in terms of how often they win. I don't really assess things that way. I assess things as far as tactics, right? Because no one's going to win everything, because no one is perfect, especially the average player. The average people, you're going to lose a lot. But, the most well-rounded players, in my personal opinion, are the best, because they don't restrict or limit themselves to, what's the most comfortable. Now, I know some people will argue, well, you limit yourself to the halberd. Well, I like the halberd, but it doesn't mean that I limit myself, right? Because in all the many videos that I've had, I think I've showcased pretty much everything, right? I've showcased, strength weapons, dexterity weapons, forest hunting, ninja flip. I even have some videos with me ninja flipping. Now, it's probably not that many relative to, the total number of videos that I have, but I have some in there. Most of them are fast rolling, and I even went through a phase where I was doing a lot of medium rolling, right? So, I kind of experiment with anything. Now, the only thing I haven't experimented with is the fat boy roll. That just seems too boring. Like, I've seen people do it, but it just doesn't seem exciting for me to experiment, as a fat boy rolling. Alright, so back to Carne. Shout out to him again. Looks like he's experimented a little bit with dual wielding as well. And he's got his Y-hander, but I was able to hit him with the one-hand Claymore R2. Alright, GG to Carne. Alright, I don't really feel like fighting the tank. Alright, so what do we have? Number 1, easy rage. Okay, fair enough. Let's see what he's going to bring to the table. Alright, so by looking at his armor, I'm not really sure how much poise this person has. I'm trying to see if those are black iron leggings, because if they are, he would have somewhere around 56 poise. And this is one thing that I always pay attention to when I'm fighting, like how much poise my opponent have. Now, it is not necessarily for stun locking potential, because now, I'm not saying I never stun lock, because I will stun lock. Because I think any experienced player should know how to deal with stun locking. That's one of those things where I might hear people complain about. They'll say, oh, you shouldn't stun lock, but why not? Think about it. How will you ever learn to not escape unless you get stun locked? As a matter of fact, I would argue that the things that I know, I didn't learn from playing the most honorable people, right? In other words, because think about it. Let's just say you have an honor dude who says that stun locking is not fair. If they have this idea in their mind, more than likely they won't go for a stun lock. So will I learn from that particular honor dude how to escape a stun lock? No. So in other words, you learn the most by going through some of these more extreme situations. May it be stun lock, may it be dark bead spamming. In other words, how would you learn how to escape Wrath of the Gods unless you face a Wog spammer? How would you learn how to deal with, dark bead spamming unless you face dark bead spammers? And I know I kind of touched up on this on one of my older videos. As a matter of fact, I think it was the very first Battle of the Builds video that I did, wherein I was talking about how sometimes these so-called standards prevent you from learning things, because that's basically what it. Okay, now that was kind of a late hit. I don't know how that happened, because it looked like he avoided it, but at the end of his roll he received 400 plus damage. So I don't know how that happened, but GG anyway. But yeah, like I was saying, you know, based upon my own experience, I have learned the most by playing against tactics that some would consider to be dishonorable. You know, may it be spamming Dark Bead, you know, Pursuer cast all the time, you know, or even being stun locked. That's how I learned. You know, I wouldn't have never learned those things if I was playing against these people who had these standards about, you know, you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that. All right, GG to him. Got him with a quick stun lock. Speaking of stun locks. All right. Oh, that was Raza. Okay, what's up, Raza? Shout out to Raza. He's one of the Twitch guys, and actually, I've had him in a couple. As a matter of fact, I think the video that I did titled Clash of the Titans, whereas we were doing team battles, I'm pretty sure he was featured in that. So shout out to Raza. He's pretty good with those great swords, especially when he's using that claymore and I can't forget, but he uses that claymore with something else. So that's a groovy build, so shout out to him. Alright, so I think this is Jerk the Bear. Shout out to him. Alright, and I barely missed that dome shot right there. I actually got lucky, and it looked like he's rocking the Brigand armor. Don't really see that often. Well, actually, let me take that back. I think that's one of Bushido's trademarks. Shout out to Mr. Bushido Wright. I know he uses that Brigand armor set with the big hat Logan headpiece. Alright, so it looks like he's using a mage build, even though he's not doing any castings. And the reason why I say that is because it looks like he's using the Velka's Rake here. Yep, Moonlight Greatsword and Velka's Rake here. So he's probably a 40-40 dexterity mage build, even though he's not really using any castings. But GG, that was a good loss. Ran out of stamina, he took advantage of it. And I just got outplayed, eh? Alright. AK-31. Oh, shout out to Phantom build. And like I said, this was one of those days where there was a fight. I don't know if it was a fight club or everyone just conveniently met up here to have some matches, but I had a whole bunch of matches here. And it was definitely fun. Because, you know, playing against guys like this can really, like I said before, teach you something and help you to improve on whatever tactics you're trying to home in on. Alright, got him with a little dead angle hit right there. He missed the parry. And he was trying too hard for the parry. You can't just sit there and keep swinging that parry button and think I'm not going to take advantage of it. Alright, so he went around for a circle BS, no problem. Now he's backing off for this miracle casting. I don't know. I guess he didn't want me to BS him, but at the end of the day, you totally miss your casting. So that's one of those things. And actually, that Grave Lord dance, I mean, it kind of sucks sometimes. Like, I've caught a few people with it, rarely, but it's kind of difficult to catch people with that. Alright, GG right there. Got Phantom builds. Don't really feel like fighting a tank. Sometimes those tanks can definitely be a challenge. Right, what do we have here? Looks like we have a Gravelord sword. And actually, I think this right here is a good match. Now, number one, I lost because I got outplayed. But there's a part in here where I try to circle him. But I basically, where is it? Right here. That's where I got kind of stuck on him, and I wasn't really able to go all the way around his body. So I kind of got stuck on his physical person. GG right there. See, I was getting my behind handed to me in this particular series. But it's all good because, like I said before, when your focus is on improving, who really cares? Especially for a lot of you new guys. I know some of you new guys tend to get discouraged easily. Right? Whether it be fighting gankers or maybe just during 1v1s. You cannot get discouraged because this is one of those games, whether you're talking PvP or PvE, this is one of those games where you just have to stick with it. And in time, and a lot of practice and commitment and patience, eventually you'll get better. Right? Because none of the people who you may have determined to be good players learn this thing overnight. Now, unless they're just some type of, super guy that kind of learn things quickly. But there's so many things to learn in this game, and I think this is why so many people like it. It's not really like your average game where, you just kind of go through the playthrough and, it may have some good scenes and some good fight animations, but after that, it's pretty much over. This game has a replay value that's so high, it's almost ridiculous. And I hope they make, and actually I can't even say I hope, I just can't wait to see the improvements that they will make in Dark Souls 2 when you compare them to the original Dark Souls, because despite any complaints that anyone may have about this game, this is an awesome game. This is definitely an awesome game. Now, I know some of you guys just may have bad experiences. Maybe you lose all the time, and because you lose all the time, you don't really see anything positive with it. But, for everyone else, this is definitely an awesome game because it has something for everybody. PvE, PvP, co-op. You can do anything. And I just really can't wait until the release date of Dark Souls 2. And speaking of the release date, when you see when Demon Souls was released and Dark Souls was released, hopefully they kind of keep consistent with those release dates, because both of those games were released in fourth quarter of the years that they were released, right? Demon Souls was released, I believe, fourth quarter, 2009, I believe. Dark Souls was released fourth quarter of 2 years later, 2011. I think it was 2011, 2010, something like that. So I'm hoping that Dark Souls 2 will be released in the fourth quarter of this year. Now, I know there's a lot of speculation for 2014, but I don't know. At the same time, as much as I want this game to be released, I just don't want them to do a rush job. Right? I really don't want them to do a rush job. Now, one thing I will say that I'm disappointed in is that it looks like it will be a current generation game, because with the graphical improvement. Okay, now, this was the guy that I fought earlier, and I said that I was trying to go around his body, and actually I'm going to do it right now. This is what I intended to do, and I learned from my mistake the first time. The first time I kind of ran straight, and I didn't go out and wide enough to circle him, so I was able to do it right there. So GG to It's All Gankers. So yeah, like I was saying, I'm kind of disappointed, because with the graphical improvements that I've seen in the the graphical improvements that I saw in the 12-minute demonstration, you would think that it would be a next-gen game, but I guess not. But it doesn't matter, because I really wasn't planning on getting a next-generation console, because, like I said before, it's just not worth the investment. I don't really play that many games. It's just not that many games that keep my attention. Now, unfortunately, if this is released on the current generation, for which it looks like it's going to be, looks like I won't be playing any Killzone 4, because I really don't want to spend 400. That was a good parry right there. I really don't want to spend $400 or $500 on a new console just to play Killzone, as much as I like it. Now, I don't know if after release of Dark Souls 2, maybe in another 2 years, because it looks like that's what the pattern is. Every 2 to 3 years there's a new Soul game to be released. So, I don't know if they're going to do another Souls game after the release of Dark Souls 2, maybe after another 2 or 3 years, but the way it looks, I will not be getting a new console, unfortunately. Alright, so we're back to my weakness, another Darkwood Grain Ring user. And like I said before, this is one of the reasons why I say Katanas and Darkwood Grain Ring is like 100% easy mode. You don't have to do anything, right? You can basically skip out of everything. And the Katanas I mean, there's like no punishing a missed swing. It's so quick and the damage is so high. It's just ridiculous. And, you know, the one thing I do not agree with these katanas, there is no reason why a katana should hit for the same amount of damage as a great sword. Right? Because you can hit with a two-handed katana swing for like 450s and depending upon the armor, 500s, low 500s. Okay, that's about the same amount of damage as a Zweihander in some cases, right? Because I know I hit somebody in this video with a Zweihander hit, and I think it hit for like 503 or 510 or something like that. In some cases, you can hit that much with a katana. Why is that even possible? That's not even realistic, and that's another reason why I've always said that katana are easy mode. Not only does it hit hard for the class of weapon, but it's fast swinging. And like there's no being punished after a missed swing. And you couple that with a Darkwood grain ring, I mean, you almost can't lose. And I'm not saying you'll be invincible, but the Darkwood grain ring katana combination is definitely a hard build to fight against. Alright. So back at it. Looks like we have about 2 more clips and this will be about it. So I hope you guys are enjoying the 2-part video series starting from scratch. I definitely enjoyed doing it. Okay, so that was 3 parries. He finally got one. He's using the Hornet Ring. Now, this is what I know he's going to do. See? This is what they usually do. Now, just so happened I was close enough to be able to circle around for the BS, but I knew that's what he was going to do. And that's one of the downsides to not having the buckler. Right? That's one of the downsides. If I had the comfort of having a shield, I would have went on ahead, let him spam it, and parry him. But because I'm not really comfortable with parrying my offhand weapon, I was kind of hesitant. And I looked for an alternate method of engagement. Just so happened it worked. Right? I circled around for the BS, and then I just went on ahead and picked him 3 times with the 2-hand halberd. Alright, so it looks like we have another Darkwood grain ring user. Man, I'm having bad luck. Alright, so that hit looked kind of late. Alright, GG right there. Well, alright guys, this is basically the last clip to the 2-part series. I hope you guys enjoyed it. So, you know, I think I have one more forest hunting video that I'm going to upload, and that will basically be it. I'm going to take a long break from forest hunting because, like I said before, I'm kind of going into this new phase of dual wielding. So I'm going to leave the forest guys alone. Right? Like I said, I think I have like 2 more videos that I just need to add commentary to. I have the footage, but I just haven't really added any commentary to it because I've done so many commentaries to forest hunting. I think I've pretty much covered all the topics, so it's not really that much for me to talk about. But one of these days I'll get that footage added to some commentary and I'll get that uploaded. Right, but for now I'm going to be going through my phase of dual wielding and using no shield, leaving my comfort zone. Alright guys, well hey, until next time, Martyr's Brigade is